NBA draft ties have been broken. The Pacers are not involved in one, but how are they impacted by the results of the drawing? We talk about that with Tyler Smith today. Then do awards, but just for Pacers players. Who's the team's MVP, Rookie of the Year, Sixth Man, and much more. You'll get it on today's Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Happy Wednesday, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes and Circle City Spin. And today, Tyler Smith of Indy Sports Legends stops by. We have a lot to get to. The NBA broke their draft ties yesterday. The Pacers were not involved in one themselves, but another lottery team, top four, was. Other teams were that have lots of second-round picks. I accidentally said the Spurs, and I meant a different team. But you'll see what the crux of that discussion is and how it impacts the Pacers. And then we get into awards. Who should be the Pacers MVP? That one's easy, but the rest, not so much. A debate about the Defensive Player of the Year, Sixth Man Most Improved, and things of that nature with Tyler. Really good discussion. I have a great Rookie of the Year pick. I hope you guys enjoy. Let's just get right to it. And by the way, my microphone hardware was being janked, so there's some skippage. I hope it's not too bad. Let's just get right to it. Tyler Smith is here. I thought he'd get a Defensive Player of the Year vote. They all went to Wembanyama, and we are talking awards today. We're talking draft ties, which thank goodness I didn't have to explain to people 1,000 times because the Pacers were not involved. Tyler, hello. We're talking in April about not the playoffs. A bummer, but how are you?
I'm doing well. It's kind of weird to be watching playoff games and not having the Pacers involved, but that used to be the norm around here for a while. So it's an interesting change of pace, but in a way, Pacers can regroup now and look ahead to hopefully better days.
At least the Pacers got to see the tradition that they started upheld this year of someone just absolutely stomping the Charlotte Hornets in a play-in game. A tradition the Pacers started in the first ever non-COVID play-in game when they just absolutely rolled them in that season. The Pacers did not finish tied with anybody. So the draft order being specifically non-lottery division set does not actually affect them. They're still in that second spot for the lottery no matter what. They didn't actually end up finishing tied Brooklyn, but the fourth lottery spot had a tie break. A lot of later first-round picks got wiggled free, and somewhat at least interesting to me is some of these second-round picks had he kind of flipped around and dislodged. Did any of this matter to you? Is there a team you feel like their position now being set makes them a trade partner for the Pacers, or has any impact on them in your eyes?
Nothing really jumped out at me when I was looking at it. Obviously, the Pacers have done a lot of interesting trades over the years, some that are kind of under the radar and just kind of out of nowhere. Thankfully, getting their first round back obviously was important this previous year. While they were still playing in the playoffs last year, but nothing really jumped out. But I also wouldn't be too surprised if some of those later round selections and things kind of come into play that kind of take you by surprise a little bit. But yeah, I think Utah owns the tiebreaker over Sacramento, and Pelicans own it over the Mavs. But
yep.
Those slow slots probably won't impact Pacers too much.
So what I was intrigued by was when the whole world wanted the Jazz to win over the Kings, because now the Thunder cannot get the Jazz pick. I think the chance was like 0.6% or something, and now it's 0. So the Thunder only have one lottery pick, thankfully for the rest of the NBA world. Thing two that I thought, I'm just watching this. The Kings being the loser is it would probably take specifically the top four staying the same, but they are one of the few teams in the top 10-ish. Dallas is one of them too, when they move back actually. That they would want a point guard, perhaps more than the consensus top four. I doubt it. I still think the consensus top four is going top four. But any chance for a Pacer move back is at least interesting to me after they gave up stuff in the Zubac trade. So as it pertains to Dallas and Sacramento both losing, I at least was like, okay, something. Perhaps it would take them more to move all the way up. But the Pacers wouldn't want to move back far, if more than maybe one spot, to let that team get a guard, and then they get one of the top four guys at 5. So those are farther from 5. But the Kings are perhaps still, they have the same odds to move or stay where they are, but they have a lower floor now. So that was at least something to me. Thing I was at least somewhat tracking is these teams with a gazillion second rounders, because the Pacers don't have one. The Spurs have like 5. The Rockets have 2. had a day, dude. The Rockets moved back. Is 53 maybe something the Pacers could get from the Rockets, for example? Any of those were of a little bit of note to me. I encourage anybody to check out the second round order to see teams that you see written down in the second round a bunch. And so those teams would be natural trade partners to me, as the Pacers, again, may not have a pick at all after the lottery. But that is, of course, purely speculative and depends on what the Pacers' actual goals are for the season. Do you think that, would you be interested in a second rounder? Does it even really matter? Get the lottery pick. Cam Jones could be their de facto young guy. I mean, it all depends on how they evaluate, obviously.
Yeah, I think I would trust them if there's a guy that becomes available that they really like in that round. But they got a lot of interesting players as it is, a lot of decisions they'll have to make for roster construction anyway. So I think the Pacers are probably more likely to deal as far as draft picks for drafts down the road than this upcoming one. I
agree.
So we'll see what happens there. But if a guy is still on the board and they really like them, then you got to trust. They've had some success in the second round, so have to trust them to pounce when the opportunity arises.
Top 4 guys: Murphy, Walker. I guess Shepard's on a rookie deal, but he's older. Cam Jones, Taylor Peter. Is that enough of recent draft picks and be happy with their pipeline? Maybe so. Also financial considerations, but there's not a ton in that. I am happy that the draft order is a fit on. Okay, Tyler, awards are leaking out. A shock to none. Victor Wembanyama, the defensive player of the year. They might be naming the award after him as soon as 5 years from now, because just unanimous every time he reaches 65 games. And that inspired me to do Pacers awards. And usually this discussion is, can any Pacers actually win or get in the mix for the awards? But I don't think that's happening this year for anybody. So this is just going to be specific to their team, the big awards that are actually applicable, aka Executive of the Year. Who cares? It's only one group of people. Coach of the Year. Who cares? It's only one group of people. But the player-based awards, who would the Pacers winner be among the players who suited up for them this year? And the highest profile award is, unfortunately, not even worth our time to discuss, but anyway. Tyler, is there any argument at all to mention anyone else's name besides Pascal Siakam for Pacers MVP?
No, not at all. He's the guy. Yeah, 24 points a game. I was even looking up how often that's even happened for Pacers, and it's hadn't happened often. Even Paul George didn't get to that number. Like 23.7 was his highest, and Granger got there, I think, maybe once. Reggie got there once. Jermaine got there once. So we're talking like a pretty small group of Pacers. I know it's a different era, but the fact of getting 24 a game, 6.6 boards, 3.8 assists, and he still shot 48% despite the high usage. So big year for Pascal, of course.
The high usage, and every defender on the other team is like, yeah, that guy's shooting. And we're going to put our best guys on him. And how many games when they were 2-20 or whatever, was there a screenshot of Pascal in the paint and 4 defenders within 2 feet of him? Like, he had no room to do anything. And he still that on like very effective efficiency and buoyed lineups when he was on the floor. So yeah, there's not even another name worth saying in this discussion, but I do think what's worth noting, and this was telling at the time, and now it even hits harder when actually articulated in full, given that they won 19 games. He was an all-star on a 9-win team, and nobody thought that was weird. Like, that's how good he played. That's unheard of. Right? Usually if you win less than 25 games, people are like, oh, they're too bad. There's no way. But he was that productive and effective, and everybody kind of knows from the run last year how good he is. So Haliburton not playing makes it extremely easy. Apologies to anyone else. I guess if you wanted to fill out a full ballot, you could toss Andrew Nemhard second place. But yeah, Pascal Siakam, congratulations on your complete layup, unanimous MVP for the season.
Yeah, and something too that the off the court stuff too, when you talk about a valuable player, like the fact that this guy would get so upset over losses still, and I was really considering, something that he said a couple years ago when they went to the conference finals, they lost to Boston. He was the first one saying, we can't assume that we're going to get back to this next year. It's going to take a ton of hard work.
Yep.
That mindset helped them to get to the finals the following year. Now, you fast forward to this year, he's already saying we can't assume that just because we're going to get guys back that it's going to be easy. It's going to take a lot of hard work. So I think that mentality, that mindset, that's why he's so valuable to this team. And as they look to this upcoming, really 2-year window that's coming up, he's a great one to have in the room. And thankfully he stayed healthy, and they found a way to get him some rest towards the end of the year, which was important. But really fantastic year for Pascal.
Great point. I look forward to his speech in Orlando this year. It'll be something, man, he nailed it once again. If he had reached 65 games, I would have at least hoped got a vote for All-NBA because his statistical case is as good as anybody's. But, I mean, I said it's impressive he made All-Star with 19 wins. He should not have made All-NBA. If he should have been on ballots, he should have been on the also received votes list. But it would have been interesting to see where then he should not have made it. Everybody, quick breaks. We can talk about 5 Hour Energy. If you've got a sweet tooth like I do, you know how tough it is to find that perfect treat without all the sugar. That's why the Fruity Rainbow 5 Hour Energy shots bring that nostalgic flavor back in a whole new way. Fruity Rainbow 5 Hour Energy shots treat your taste buds to an explosion of fruity flavor with a tasty caffeine kick. It's a quick, easy way to satisfy that sweet craving while keeping things simple and on the go. Many people love that Fruity Rainbow taste. I love the cherry flavor they've added recently as well. And a zero sugar tweet that's both sweet tooth approved and convenient. It's perfect. It's small, portable shot you can grab whenever you need a little pick-me-up. It's become the go-to for many when they need something sweet without going overboard. Get a candy-flavored chaos with Fruity Rainbow 5 Hour Energy shots. Available online or on 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. We're back here on Locked On Pacers. Thanks for making us your first listen today and every single day. Your second listen could be the show covering any of the teams in the playoffs who played tonight, or Locked On Blazers, who I believe played tonight, but also because I was reading and listening to some great reporting on their new owner and the cost-cutting measures he's apparently taking, and Mike Richmond will have more on Locked On Blazers. You can get Locked On Pacers or Locked On Blazers ad-free with the Everydayer Club, plus members-only Discord access, a new offering here at Locked On. You can talk with Pacers fans in there. I pop in every couple days. You can join at lockedonpodcast.com/everyday. Now let's get back to it with Tyler Smith. Okay, every other one I at least typed down more than one name on the ballot, even though I think this second one is also, at least for me, was pretty easy. All the stats don't really bear it out. This is just something that we've seen for years and years and years. Tyler, who was your defensive player of the year for the Pacers this year?
Yeah, this one was kind of tough. Nobody's going to have good numbers. Like the defensive rating and all this stuff is going to look pretty bad for most players. So you're kind of thinking, do you like the block shots? Do you like the reputation? Do you like, what is it that you prefer? Hard still, maybe more of a reputation type thing, but the numbers are not going to pop off the page at all. In fact, they don't look good for, like I said, really anybody. But when you consider all the things like still being asked to play, not every night, but guard the best player on several nights. And for me, I really focused on the 2 decent stretches this season the Pacers had, only 2, where they were kind of playing 500 ball, especially in January when they were actually playing defense, and the defensive numbers were good for 12, 14 games. He was at the heart of that. He's still, like I said, guarding the best players. So still went with Nembhard. He's still the guy that they look to in the key moments as well, guarding the opposing best players. So
yeah, I also went with Andrew Nembhard. It's more of a lifetime achievement defensive player of the year for the Pacers more than anything. But his action review is illuminating like how much hard it was for him to play defense with the offensive load that was required of him. And next year that will not be this, right? You can expect him to be closer to the guy he was last year, and he was still very good on that end of the floor. And this is the farthest I've ever disagreed with the advanced stats, and a lot of them are based on the fact that he played with the starters, and the starters were bad on defense a lot of the year. Those on-off numbers are not good, and that's not his fault. Like, I can watch the games. I can tell you Andrew Nembhard defending well, or the things he's doing that is helping the Pacers defense. And he is he's not a big emotive guy in games, but you could see, especially early in the year, where cycling through all the 10 days and then new players on the floor, like when someone else would mess up on defense, how often shoulders would drop a little bit when the other team scored. Like, still like a passion project for him to use this team's defense as much as they could. And you're absolutely right that in that stretch right before the NBA cut break, with an easy schedule, and that stretch going into All-Star when they went 9-9, he was a big part of their defense, looking pretty threatening in those stretches. And you always would point out, I thought this was awesome, that their record was like 14-14 in those stretches, and then like 2-30 in their games at that point or whatever it was. I thought that was crazy. But he was a big part of those successful stretches being what they are. So I at least looked into a couple of guys. Could J Huff for the blocks that you mentioned. And I think that the blocks are great. I don't remember exactly in the league. I think it was second. That's great. But there were a lot of times it was like early career Turner where he'd go for the block, but if he missed it, it was an easy rebound or basket for the other team. And obviously away from the basket, he's pretty limited on the defensive end, so they had to figure out how to keep him around there a little bit better. I actually considered on a flimsier case because he didn't that much, but Johnny Furphy was very impactful on defense when he was actually playing at several different positions. He probably wouldn't have won even if he played the full season, but was a big riser in terms of his defensive improvement. Siakam and Nesmith are both good defenders most of the time. They are playing on the floor, but there's a lot of guys who played a lot and just stunk on defense most of the season. So a lot of the perception of them is carrying more than their actual play this season. So I also went with them hard, but who else did you talked about? Huff was high on your consideration.
Yeah, I was kind of looking into some of the numbers from Nesmith because that's kind of the de facto number 2 typically. But for me, the misconception a lot of people have is that if you get steals or get blocks, that automatically means you're a good defender. And I just don't think that's the case. I mean, it's nice to have the rim protection that Huff provides. But, I mean, if you're talking like game on the line and you're going to put Huff or Nembhard on somebody and, even leaving positional stuff off to the side, I think everybody knows who you would go with.
Yes.
So he's got his limitations, and I think he had a good year, important year to maybe show that he could possibly be a backup moving forward. But yeah, I think was looking probably Nesmith second. That's some good points about Furphy and that limited action, and that's important for him to get back and see if he can be part of the rotation in the near future.
I am bummed that the Furphy Siakam front was ended by a torn ACL. That was one of my favorite parts of the season. Yeah, about the steals and blocks. And the thing about Huff is even when he doesn't get the block, if he stays grounded, he's 7'1". He's huge. So he is a deterrent either way. But yes, he's slow-footed and gets himself out of plays sometimes. So that one, I'm glad we ended up on the same page. That one is not fit because it's less about the basketball played this season. All right, let's do a June one. Tyler, Rookie of the Year. There are actually multiple candidates. The 2 draft picks, Ethan Thompson was a rookie. Is Drew here? Can I throw in a different contender before we actually answer the question? My Rookie of the Year for the Pacers this year. The new new jerseys, the Moments mixtape stuff in the first year debuting for the team were awesome. A complete home run. It's a shame that they debuted in a year where the team absolutely stunk because I love that court. I love those uniforms. I hope they get a second season where they can win Most Improved Player by being back for in which the team is actually good. I know that doesn't count for actual Rookie of the Year, but that is my actual serious answer.
I mean, we don't want to agree on every answer, but I mean, if we can throw. Obviously, no rookie really jumped off the page, and I think Jones had the very slow start because of the injury. Did some good things. I don't know if anyone's real convinced that he's a long-term rotational piece. He could turn into that. But I think all the different lineups and all the different guys the Pacers used, there were some good things here and there. And they're using a lot of different lineups and a lot of new players that were not necessarily rookies, but, first-year Pacers that, some of them showed some stuff, especially down the stretch, that were at least interesting enough to give the Pacers a glimpse into what they could possibly do. But if you're just taking one rookie, I guess I would go Cam Jones, but I like your answer better.
Okay, of the actual players, Cam had double-digit assist games, some nice scoring games, enough defensive games where I wrote it down that he did things on defense. I would largely call his defense rookie-level defense. It was not particularly good. But enough stuff where I was like, okay, I get what they hope he becomes, even though largely he needed to make shots. He would tell you that too. And it obviously hurt him a great deal that he missed the first 28 games because even if he's not playing, he's going through the NBA schedule. He's traveling with the team. He's working out. And so he still hits the rookie wall at the same time as the rest of the rookies. But at that point, played 5 or 10 games. So it's just really challenging to get his sea legs and get playing. It was really hard, and it was very dynamic around him. Very hard context to be a rookie point guard to learn things, and yet there were still some things you'd hope would be better. He said the most important thing at his exit interview, his offseason, he's got to work on his both-handedness, right? He has to have a better right hand. It's almost esque how much he goes left. Taylor Peter had some closing games. The defense in particular, I thought, got a lot better from him late, but not enough to say that he had a better season than Cam Jones, although he did play point guard on the season, which was certainly something that the Pacers had to turn to. Ironically, this was like, do I consider giving this to Ethan Thompson? Because of these three players, Ethan Thompson, who's only a rookie in the NBA, technically, he's been in the pros for a little bit. He had a 3-week stretch where he was in the rotation when they were trying to in December, including that game in Chicago that they did win. And he played minutes and played kind of well. And so he is the only one of the three that during a stretch like that had like real rotational impact for the team. And yet he is a scorer who lights up the G League like crazy and struggled to make shots consistently in the pros. So I also think Cam Jones is the answer, which is boring because we're on fire with the agreements today. But there's not, this is like the we're not getting anything of major significance here, but also Jones is certainly the one with the best long-term chance to me of these guys. They're all older already. So maybe we should have done Pacers rookie because then we could have included all sorts of other players into this discussion. But even then there would be a ton of easy picks. I guess Huff would just run away with that. I don't know. Yeah,
that's a good point though about that stretch that Thompson had. And am I remembering this correctly that Peter was he played opening night? Is that right?
He did. He was like the backup point guard for a little bit in that game. Someone got hurt in the game, I think, and then he became the backup point guard.
Yeah.
Was? Yes.
Yeah, maybe Nimhard. I don't know. Can't remember actually.
There were so many. I can't even remember when they all happened.
What I do remember though is I didn't know the full extent. I mean, we're talking the insane amount of starting lineups and total players used. Didn't think it would reach those levels, but it was kind of one of those moments of like, all right, let's see what all these guys have. And we had plenty of opportunity to see them.
It was funny that a big point people made about the Pacers potentially being decent this year was like, oh, yeah, a lot of depth. These guys it's no way that all these guys think. And it's like, well, they don't have any depth, actually. Everybody's hurt. At the same time, one more break here, everybody. We got to talk about Indeed. Workplace chaos. Your deadlines are stacking up. Your inbox is overflowing. The one position you have to fill is still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs who help you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for, the skills, the location, the experience. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. Here's the stat that says it all. In the minute I'm going to be talking to you about Indeed right now, companies like yours will make 27 hires on their platform, according to their data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Less time, less stress, but more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of this podcast will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support Locked On Pacers by saying you heard about it on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire. This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Next up, and I think this one might be our first disagreement because this one has kind of an up for interpretation award. Most improved player for the Pacers this season. Tyler, I'll just go because I have lots of guys who are in the mix for me.
Okay. So I landed on Jarris Walker for this one. Important year for him. Didn't have the best start. I think a lot of fans were kind of nervous the first, 6 or 8 weeks when he's shooting like 31 from 3 and wasn't looking great. But he really did turn it on. It wasn't just because of usage, like his shooting percentages went up as the year went on. As a starter, he averaged 14, 6, and 3. And then post All-Star break, it was even better, 14.4, 6.8, 3.9. And he actually improved to 45% shooting, 39% from 3. I think the month was February when he was a 16-8 guy. And I also looked up, I believe 35 of his last 42 games was in double figures. And in 4 of those 7 that he was not, he scored 8. So we're talking really close, pretty consistent, especially by his standards the previous couple years. Really found some consistency. One thing that I like too is a couple of his games, even when he was doing well, if he had a rough shooting night, the rebounding numbers were spiking and he was, proving his worth in other ways. And, I feel like, I don't know how many times I wrote about this or tweeted about this throughout the year that the Pacers needed to find some wins that were not on the court. and Carlisle said it was one of the biggest victories of the season, Walker's development. So I will go with Jarris, and that's important because they just traded their other recent lottery pick, so they needed to see something from Walker, and whether he ends up in a trade or he ends up back with the team, I think it was a very important 3 or 4 months for him to solidify either value in one way or the other. But I think he's shown enough to be part of the rotation next year.
Yeah, even if they get another lottery pick, I think Walker would be in the mix on the bench next for sure. So if most improved to be clear, he is a strong did it for me this whole time. If it was who was the best improvement from game 1 to game 82, it is without a doubt him, because he was terrible this season. I wrote about him this week, and you know how many times he shot better than made half or more of his shots in the first 15 games of the season? 2 times. 2 times. The other 13, he was very inaccurate. It was rough. He had that road trip where they went out west, got smoked 4 times. In a 4-game road trip, he had 8 made shots, 7 turnovers. And then by the end of the year, it was like, oh, yeah, he's clearly playing very well. Like, that was huge in-season improvement. So he's in the mix because of that. Last year, at the end of the year, he was not as good as he was to close this year, obviously. But he was playing playoff games for the time of his career, like a level that was, important for them, that he was in the mix. Like, his ankle was not nothing. I still think the finals goes roughly the same if he's healthy. But, like, that's a thing they had off the table for that series when his size would have been important, to be clear. So considerations for me. The in-season improvement of Andrew Nembhard, of course, was big. And I'll get back to him in a second. Johnny Furphy was much better. Some people just default away from second years, which I understand, and I think that's a reasonable thing to do with him, especially because had he actually gets to play in his first year, perhaps this could have happened sooner, but they were trying to win last year. Then you guys got better Neesmith was great down the stretch. Shepard, after similar to Walker starting terrible, was great down the stretch. Like, there are lots of guys you could point to as much by the end. So I was thinking I was going to pick Walker, and in the end, I didn't. I actually went Andrew Nembhard because the improvement from the spirit of most improved is last season to this season. So Walker from game 1 to 82, runaway winner to me. From the end of last year to the end of this year, Nembhard's three-point, the percentage does not look better, but he took way harder threes, off the dribble threes, not set by his teammates, and still got a career high. His defense was still, as we noted, pretty good. And passing from January to the end of the year is like maybe the most important one that any core player showed improvement in. I think he finished the season like 5th in assists per game, calendar year 2026. That's all huge for the team. And going from good grade at something is a lot harder and more important than going from mediocre to good. And so that specific reason is why I went with Nembhard. By the way, also my philosophy for most improved player, like, to me, Wembanyama should be a candidate this year. Going from great to amazing is like the most important thing that could happen to an NBA team. That happening to Tyrese Haliburton is why the Pacers are contenders right now. And so the actual impact of Nembhard's improvements to me are the biggest thing. And that is why I'm picking him, even though if you just like said on a plot, like a straight line plot of a guy's effectiveness on a 1 to 100, Walker moved the farthest. I think Nembhard's are more important, so I went with him.
Yeah, I can see it for sure. Glad we also had one difference at least in the set. Yeah, Nembhard was really impressive. I want to say especially there's like a 2-month stretch. You just look at the numbers and it's just, I mean, highly, highly impressive. And as we alluded to earlier, still being asked to do a lot on both ends. It's going to make this Pacers offense kind of a nightmare to guard if they're clicking at the same time. Assuming Haliburton is healthy, you have that ability in the future. Whenever Haliburton is out or just resting in a game, Nembhard can take that role. He's done it before, but at this kind of level, it was almost like you're getting some of playoff Nembhard, but on a regular basis. Running the show. So important development in a year that there weren't as many, but those are still, both those players, that's a pretty big deal for them moving forward.
6th man of the year exists. And here, if you go with the spirit of how the NBA uses 6th man of the year, here's a huge challenge, Tyler. The Pacers were so hurt that so many guys actually started too much for this. Jay Huff started 47 of his 82 games, more than half. He's out. Jarris Walker started 41 of his 76 games. That's more than half. He's out. Siakam is out. Andrew Nemhard is out. Aaron Nesmith is obviously out. Johnny Furphy started 21 of his 35 games. He's out. Ben Matherin, he's out. Like, they have so many players that could, in theory, be the winner that are just straight up not eligible. And so if you're going off of a raw minutes answer, you kind of have only one answer that it could be. Am I overthinking this? Do you have a sixth man of the year?
I mean, yeah, if we're going off the definition. I'm assuming that does Potter fit? Is he not over half?
Potter, yes, is 7 starts in 47 games. He is third in total minutes eligible players for the Pacers this year. Yes. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I might be forgetting somebody for that role, but I think Potter did quite a bit as far as, the depth, and he came in and did more than I'm not saying he's going to have the same type of future, but it kind of reminded me a little bit of like what O'Shea Brissett brought years ago, where it's like, oh, this guy's he's actually playing pretty well, and it's not just, for a handful of games. He's actually doing pretty well. So maybe I would lean towards him, but you might also have somebody on the list that I am forgetting about. That like, oh, that guy actually.
Well, Obi Toppin only played 24 games. He's the best player off the bench. Pacers, he would win in a normal year of health. Ben Shepherd, he played the 65. He only started 20, so he is eligible. To me, the total minutes package meant Jay McConnell was the answer. I mean, he was the most often healthy, good bencher they had all season, even with the signs of aging that he showed. But it's absolutely insane that Pop is on the ballot and not an embarrassing consideration given the season that they just. If Jalen Slauson started one more game, he would not be eligible for a sixth man of the year. What a season the Pacers just had, Tyler. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Maybe Boomer could have won sixth man because.
Did he not play in a game? He for sure did this year at some point. This is the most sad year of awards. They're not going to get anything in the actual ballot. So probably not even going to have a vote for anybody on any actual ballot. If some executive loves the Zubats trade or something, maybe Pritchard will get executive of the year vote. Tyler, thank you for the time in this less fun than normal award thing. Where can people find the things you say about the Pacers and IU and the Cubs and so more?
Tyler Smith _ISL on X, and IndySportsLegends.com is the main place for articles and more.
So much to come. The lottery is in 18 days by the time this is out. Be here before we all know it. Speaking of, tomorrow is the first scouting report day of Locked On Pacers. AJ DeBonsa, the microscope. I've been watching BYU basketball. I love college basketball, Tyler. It is so fun to watch these dudes isolate and miss shots all the time. I can't wait to do it. Thank you all so much for today. We will see you very soon.